If you wouldn't mind, just repeat after me. We'll go slow. I,
Scott Fall,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the
of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and this state
and this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
I, Scott Fall,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office of member of a Board of Education,
for the office of member of a Board of Education.
and I'm not disqualified as a voter
I'm not disqualified as a voter
pursuant to our laws,
pursuant to our laws,
and I'm not disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense
and am not disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense
as listed in our laws,
as listed in our laws,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of that office
perform all the duties of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Dr. Paul.
Roll call.
Dr. Fall.
Present.
Ms. Galliano.
Here.
Dr. Levy.
Here.
Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Mr. Schmutz.
Here.
Mrs. Van Auken.
Here.
Mrs. Watson.
Here.
Mr. Carp.
Here.
Mrs. Wallace.
Here. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of September 23rd for regular session and executive session, please?
So moved. Second.
Dr. Falk.
Approved.
Ms. Galliano. Approved. Dr. Levy.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Schmutz.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken.
Yes.
Mrs. Watson.
Yes.
Mr. Carp.
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace.
Yes. Information items. There is an attachment for fire drills and safety drills. There is an attachment that lists all the enrollment numbers as of October 15th. And attachment B will show the bus evacuation drills for 2020 to 2021. There are no communications. Board Secretary report.
Just a reminder that the board election day is also the same day as all the other election items on November 3rd. The next item is the budget calendar. Each board member has received a 2021-2022 budget calendar because we start that process as early as September to plan for July of 2021. So we're just getting started on all that, and we'll be meeting each month just to start planning for that. The state starts to release the software late January, and then we keep going. And usually in March, we upload the budget, we get it reviewed, and then the voting on it is in May. So that's that. I also wanted to give a quick update on some of the items that I have updated each meeting. One being the rooftop ionizers, the installation of the air purification system on the roofs. Much of that has been installed. We received 18 additional units on Friday. They were installed on Tuesday at Signal Hill, Crescent, Hamilton, and Osage. Additional ones were installed today at middle school. There are 7 interior rooms that we are still going to install the units in once we receive those. But in the meantime, just like everywhere else, we always have an alternate method of purifying the room. The UV disinfection system, we have been using mobile units until the permanent fixtures arrived. So far, Hamilton, Crescent, and Osage are fully installed with the units that run at night. And the mobile ones are still being used partially at Signal Hill. Some of the permanent fixtures have been installed there. And middle, we're still using portable units because we're waiting for the remaining 210 fixtures to still arrive. So we are moving along in those areas, but as we had said before, there's always an alternate way to disinfect when we don't have the item that was ordered. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent report.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I would like to go through the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights and the annual report as prepared by Ms. Sue Donnelly. Report to the board, October 2020, State Department of Education Student Safety Data System for 2019-20 school year. This is based upon the criteria of the state of New Jersey and is reported twice a year. During the reporting period of September 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, the district reported 12 incidents through the SSDS. Of the 12, 4 were incidents of endangering safety, 1 vandalism, and 7 physical fighting. Harassment, intimidation, bullying for the period of January 1, 2020 through January 30, 2020. This reporting is also required twice a year to the state and to the Board of Ed. The district had 1 affirmed incident of harassment, intimidation, and bullying for this reported period. Moving to the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights self-assessment data for the Department of Education. The school safety team of each school completed the self-assessment required by the Department of Ed under the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. The district average on the self-assessment for school scores was 76 points out of a possible 78 points. I would also like to share some good news in terms of the district restrooms. In phase 1, we put in touchless equipment for the student bathrooms, enough so that there was 1 fixture, 1 available for the students to use. As we are moving now into the next phase, we are going to put the touchless equipment in all of, to equip all of the equipment in both the student and staff bathrooms in all of the schools, as which was discussed during the facilities committee. You'll see on number 8, we're moving some funds over to make sure that we can get that accomplished. So that is good news. Additional information that I wanted to share is in regard to some new updates from the Camden County Health Department. As I shared in a mailing recently, the new definition of what a close contact is has now changed, and now anyone within 6 feet of a person testing positive for COVID within a 24-hour period, if the total amount of time in contact within that 6 feet totals 15 minutes, they are considered a close contact and therefore required to quarantine. So that's a new change. And we are closely watching the Camden County case numbers as we are still in the yellow category. We're just watching it closely and looking to make sure we don't go into the orange, which would show that there is an increase. So we'll keep watching that and monitoring that. Since last board meeting, I had the opportunity to go out to each of the schools and have open staff meetings at each school. It was a voluntary meeting where the staff was asked to gather and report any input, ask any questions, and provide feedback from their perspective on how the restart plan has gone since September. So we're still, I'm still in the process of synthesizing all the information that came from that. The meetings I felt and have heard were very productive, and the staff is doing an excellent job. And it was really great to hear from them. And some of the things that they are asking and talking about are part of our planning for the next phase. And I think at this point, I'll also just mention that I had a meeting also with the PFA presidents from each of the parent faculty associations. Had a meeting set up with them as well to get some information on from their perspective as the presidents of their local school association. That meeting was also very productive. And lastly, had our October VTEA, the association representative roundtable, which is something we do every month. I meet with the representatives at each of the schools for the association, the Teachers Association, where we are coming together in a collaborative manner to discuss any concerns that they have and work together to try to brainstorm solutions moving forward. So it's been a productive time since last we met. That concludes my report, Madam President.
Thank you.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
If I could just interject something. We have to have a public comment on the anti-bullying Bill of Rights, school self-assessment, and annual report on student safety data.
Item C.
At this time.
Okay. While the board is limited in its ability to respond to the public on matters involving personnel, litigation, negotiations, and attorney-client privilege, the board will now hear comments from the public relating to the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act. The board will not take action this evening. You will be notified at some later time by letter, electronic mail, telephone, or in the context of a later board meeting of any action the board takes. Is there any public comment on the anti-bullying? Okay. Moving on. Ms. Galliano, could you please give us the policy committee report?
Yes, the policy committee met earlier. We discussed the rewording of a couple of the second policy readings, policies for second reading, excuse me, just a few changing of a few words, and we reviewed policies for first reading with no changes.
Thank you. Ms. Watson, could you please give us a Buildings and Grounds Committee report?
Sure. The Building and Grounds Committee met on October 20th. We actually met at DMS to tour some of the projects that we have recently completed, which was the district-wide hard surface flooring, the wood floor gym and bleacher replacement, and the guided suite alterations. We were incredibly pleased with with what has been accomplished to date. The guided suite was in its final stages, so we look forward to seeing what that's going to look like when it's completed, but we are really excited about those projects. We also talked about the installation of additional HVAC units and the updates for those. A media center renovation at E.T. Hamilton. You will see later in the agenda some change orders that are impacted by some of those renovations. The construction of a field house at VMS, we're looking into the options and we're having those bids come in. And then we've discussed some future projects, which David stole my thunder and talking about the installation of topless pictures and all the restrooms, but that's fantastic news that we're, again, also really excited about. And then there's some additional HVAC systems that we're looking to replace because they are outdated and we need to, and we put them in the budget for some replacements over the summer, this coming summer. And that is, I think that's about it.
Thank you. Okay, audience participation. While the board is limited in its ability to respond to the public on matters involving personnel, litigation, negotiations, and attorney-client privilege, the board will now hear comments from the public relating to items on the agenda for this board meeting. The board will not take action this evening. You will be notified at some later time by letter, electronic mail, telephone, or in the context of a later board meeting of any action the board takes. Please note you have to state your name and address, and you are limited to 3 minutes. Are there any comments?
Good evening. My name is Jamie Alstino. I live at 167 William Feather Drive. I'd like to thank the board, the superintendent, for all of your efforts. I would really like to thank our teachers. They're doing an amazing job in such a difficult situation. I want to remind you that the New Jersey Constitution guarantees our children a fair and thorough education. The product that Voorhees is providing is not meeting their needs. Please ask any child that physically attends school if they'd rather be home more or in school more. The overwhelming response from the children is that they want to be in school more. They do not care about wearing their masks longer. At the last moment before school started, the full day schedule was removed from the parents of Voorhees. We were sent scrambling, trying to figure out how to manage our jobs, our children's schedules, even more than we had already anticipated. We thought our children would be in school for 2 full days in person, and that was taken from us. Try finding childcare, it's impossible. We were told it was temporary and the half days would resume. We were told that it was to accommodate a transition back. We were told that it was about lunches, not being able to eat, but these children are eating snacks next to each other, so that clearly wasn't the issue. Please tell us what the real reason is for these half days. What is the benchmark for us to go back to a full day schedule? They aren't even true half days, they're shorter. We need transparency and communication of your plans for reinstituting this. You've had ample time. The half-day schedule is creating a terrible learning environment for the children, and they will be significantly disadvantaged if we continue in this fashion. The children are on an 8-day reading cycle instead of a 6-day. The math work that's getting accomplished is approximately only 50% of the volume they got done last year. The children get only 10 minutes for science and social studies. That's a tragedy. The children that get pulled out for help, they miss the small instruction time that they should be receiving, and they have to make their lessons up after school. The children like my daughter, who's in enrichment, she has the same sort of scenario. She misses her school, and then she has to do her lesson afterward. These sort of activities could be taking place after school as it ends at 1:25. It could also take place on Wednesdays as all of these children are remote. If full day will not resume, please eliminate specials. Specials are unnecessary if we have a 4-hour schedule. They desperately need that time allotted for math and reading. The children spend 30 minutes each day in specials. They lose 5 minutes off of math and reading traveling to and from. Take the specials teachers and reallocate them into the classrooms like my daughter's, where there are 26 children, 26 in 3rd grade. Have the specials teachers take some of the burden off of those teachers. Just today, the children had a Halloween class party. They missed math because there wasn't enough time. Specials should have been eliminated. Wednesdays should not be remote under any circumstances. Many other districts found a way to clean on Wednesdays or other scheduling measures in order to maximize in-person teaching and make use of the.
Thank you for your comments, but I'm sorry, we have to move on.
I'll give
And,
Mrs. Ospino my 3 minutes.
well, excuse me, we're also limited to agenda items only right now. So, do we have any other comments?
Tony Blanco to comment. I'd like to commend the members of the Board of Education for taking the time to visit the schools to experience firsthand the amazing work of our teachers and students. Furthermore, I would also like to thank Superintendent Dr. Gentile and his team for their leadership and his visibility and willingness to hear from the staffs in each of the buildings over the past several weeks with their challenges of teaching in this climate. But most of all, it is critical to recognize the work of our teachers, our ESPS, our students and parents who are working overtime to make the best of the situation that we find ourselves in. None of us expected to be here in these times, but your team, the Voorhees team, is truly delivering a quality educational product for our students and families in spite of the challenges. I know you all realize this, but it can't be said enough that we will get through this together. Thank you, Anthony Crosby, TEA President.
Thank you. Are there any more comments at this time?
Janine Martin, 14 Redstone Ridge. Helen spoke about the election. Is there a way for the school district to put together something so that we can all know about all the candidates for the school board? The only way we hear about them is if there's a random sign in the neighborhood or if they posted something on Facebook. Is there a way that the district could bring those candidates together so they could be either interviewed or asked questions, or they could at least put something out through the district so that we could hear what they have to say, and so we have an idea of who our candidates are? I only know my candidates if they're I've done my homework, but a lot of people only know their candidates if they're somebody's friend. So is there a way for the district to help share that information, maybe have a round table? I know we're, 5 days from election, but maybe it's something we should think about going forward so that everyone in the district is aware of who our candidates are, so that we are aware of what people stand for and what they're trying to do and their reasoning for joining the board.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Board comments?
May I finish?
I'm sorry that we're done. We're over your 3 minutes and we're on agenda items right now. Mr. Carp?
I have 2 comments. One is, did we look into, Dr. Gentile met with the PFA moms and as well as the teachers. Did we look to get the PFA heads of each school and a teacher from each school together to discuss, things that we've done well and things that we need to improve upon, because we might be able to cross-suggest between the schools. So I didn't know if you had any plans on getting that kind of meeting together.
Yeah, I think, again, just to reiterate, the VTA, the roundtable that we hold, which has representatives from each school, the tone of that meeting is in line with what you suggest.
The representatives being a teacher?
Yes.
Or
Yeah, their association, representatives. They represent their peers at those schools. We talk about things that have gone, well, in other areas that we know we have to work to improve. And in line with that, as well as, some of the public sentiment, we are actively planning and trying to look towards second marking period to improve how we're doing it, to both try to meet the needs of our parents who have been wonderful and supportive, and rightly so, are wanting more from us, and I think we can do more, as well as respecting the teachers and what their concerns are. So trying to put those together, and actively, I think we're working on some really good ideas that are going to accomplish both, I hope.
I just thought maybe if we could get them together, the PFA representatives and the teachers together, along with yourself, because each one clearly has different issues than the other might be seeing. So that was the reason I brought that up. And then the other question I had, I don't know if we've looked into it, sort of going down the road that this woman just mentioned. Did we look into, now that the parents have an idea of what remote is like and the in-schools like, did we ever think about possibly making designated teachers remote, and they could have a larger remote class? And no, I'm not trying to overburden our staff either, but then we could actually have more in class and possibly even having them here for more days.
Again, that's what we're looking at going forward, and we did consider all those options early on, but the unknown of what it was going to be like, now that we've had some time to learn some lessons, looking forward, that's exactly what we're going to try to do. We'll be sending out a parent survey that's going to be coming out that's very important. I want to encourage all parents to please complete that survey. It's going to be very simple. It's just, what was your choice for first marking period in terms of hybrid or full remote, and what you are planning for second marking period, be it remote or hybrid, and that's going to be coming out shortly.
Because I went to one of the class visits that we did, and I walked in, quite frankly, I was a little surprised. There was 4 students in the class. Clearly, that meant a lot more students were remote. So if there's some parents that believe their children should be fully remote, and others that believe they should be fully in school, then between because don't forget, if you have a fully remote teacher, it doesn't really matter what school they go to, whether it's Signal Hill, Crescent, Osage, Hamilton, they can teach remote, for the entire class from anywhere. So hopefully then we'd have more teachers that could be, call it face-to-face for lack of anything else. Thank you.
Donna?
I have additional comments as well.
Okay.
First, I just want to welcome Dr. Phillip. Thank you. We're so excited to have you, and thank you for your service, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Excited to collaborate with you. Number 2, Dr. Gentile, just excited that you're spending some time with teachers and getting to know what are some of the things that are working, things that are not working, and excited to hear that you're synthesizing some of the feedback from them. Is that something that we can see, have ready by the next meeting?
I'd like to have recommendations, before the next meeting.
That's all.
Ms. Levy? Dr. Levy, sorry.
Okay, thank you. I first would like to thank the public for the last meeting and bringing all of your concerns forward, and for the board and to Dr. Gentile for allowing us, I think almost all of us went into the school districts between the last meeting and this meeting. Things were not running perfectly, but I could see that many of all of the teachers and many of the students were doing the very best that they could under the circumstances. And that it is really challenging in the classrooms, whether you're remote or you are in person. To Ms. Martin's comment, I do want to state that Vote 411 has information from all but maybe one candidate available online, and it's a good amount of information. So if something isn't able to come together between now and the election, I would definitely check that out. And furthermore, I was contacted by the NAACP to hold to be part of a debate. I think on November 1st was the last date that I heard, but I was the only candidate who had responded at the time. So they were still trying to contact the rest of the candidates to see if that was even possible. So I don't know that the district necessarily needs to do anything. I think there's at least one other organization that's looking to host something potentially on Sunday.
If I may, they gave me the same comment back when I did respond.
Okay.
That you were the only one that responded, nobody else did.
Okay.
So.
So maybe there are some others they're waiting for, I don't know. But you can definitely find things on Vote 411, I believe is the website, about each of the candidates.
Thank you. Any other board comments? There are no transportation items. Dr. Levy, would you take policy items number 1 through 2, first and second readings?
Mrs. Wallace, can I just add one policy that was an attachment to the agenda, but it was not written on the agenda itself? It's policy 8561, procurement procedures for school nutrition programs. It was a backup item and it was in the packet for the committee. It's just not written on this agenda.
I don't think we were able to review it in
We didn't
policy,
review it in the policy, so
because it wasn't in the packet.
we're not going to vote on that one.
We'll just wait.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't in there. Unless I'm,
Well, it is in there, but if we
In
didn't
this?
review it.
We didn't review it.
Yeah, okay, we didn't.
because it wasn't on the list.
It's in the packet and it is an attachment. It just isn't written on the agenda part. But if people didn't see it.
Yeah, we
then-
didn't have a chance, yeah, we didn't,
It was in the packet.
It was in the packet.
It was.
Yeah, we just didn't
But because
review
of-
it in the
Just
meeting.
agree.
is that something we were able to wait until next, how long?
That was a first reading, correct?
It was just a first reading, so, yeah,
Probably fine.
it can wait, yeah. Mr. Nelson had pointed that out.
Yeah. Yeah, so just numbers 1 through 2, but not including 8561. Dr. Levy, can you take?
Sorry. No, I was thinking something.
Can you take policy items 1 through 2, but we are not voting on 8561?
Yes, I would be happy.
Thank you.
Make a motion to move policy number 1 and 2 with the exception of 8561.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Dr. Fall,
Yes.
Ms. Galliano,
Yes.
Dr. Levy,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Schmus,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken,
Yes.
Mrs. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace.
Yes. Mrs. Watson, could you take personnel items 1 through 27, please?
I would like to make a motion to move items 1 through 27 under consent.
Dr. Fall,
Yes.
Ms. Galliano,
Yes.
Dr. Levy,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Schmus,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken,
Yes.
Mrs. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace.
Yes. There is no deferred action. Ms. Van Auken, would you please take new business numbers 1 through 12, please?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to move agenda items under new business 1 through 12. Second.
Dr. Falk,
Yes.
Ms. Galliano,
Yes.
Dr. Levy,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Schmus,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken,
Yes.
Mrs. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace.
Yes. The next meeting date will be November 23rd at 7:30 at the Administration Building. At this time, we have audience participation. While the board is limited in its ability to respond to the public on matters involving personnel, litigation, negotiations, and attorney-client privilege, the board will now hear comments from the public. The board will not take action this evening. You will be notified at a later time by letter, electronic mail, telephone, or in the context of a latter board meeting of any action the board does take. Please note you're limited to 3 minutes for any public comments. Do we have any public comments?
Will the next meeting also be hybrid?
Yes?
Hmm?
As of right now, depending on COVID, I guess, the health department.
It's not getting any better.
Any other public comments? Yep, sorry, go ahead.
May I resume?
Yes.
I think I left off talking about Wednesdays. Wednesdays, just follow up, they should not be remote under any circumstances. Other districts have found a way to clean on weekends or other scheduling measures in order to maximize the in-person teaching and make use of Wednesdays. In addition, we need a full day in order to work. Our governor recommended in-person education for Zoom for children, but also so that parents could go back to work. Our society, like it or not, it depends on young children being in school in order to function. I'm maintaining the half-day schedule myself and many others cannot work. I can no longer take days off. You should not be able to leverage this sort of power over people. We pay for these services and you need to provide them. You've chosen to work for and serve the Voorhees community, and your decisions impact our livelihood. I understand many of you are privileged and have the ability to work from home, but I want you to know that those of us who need to go into work exist, and it's your duty to advocate for us. We've elected you. Lastly, I beg you to innovate like other districts. Just look around. Look at Berlin, 5 days a week in person if you wish. Look at Marlton, 5 days a week, hybrid, full days, not half days, using Wednesdays for in-person education. There are many more districts I could list. We need to do better. Do not sit idle and accept this as okay. This is not working and it's not sustainable. Every day that is wasted is a day that many children and families are failed. Politics and unions should not be taking priority over the needs of these children. I want you to know that many Voorhees parents have given up on you. They have no faith in you anymore. They feel hopeless and helpless, and I beg you to do the right thing.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments?
I have a comment from Adam Ostino, 167 William Feather Drive. I would like to thank my daughter's teacher and the entire staff of Signal Hill School for making the best of a difficult situation. I am extremely impressed by the patience and professionalism that I have witnessed in the past few weeks. Going forward, we must remember that the needs of our children are most important. What is best for their education must be the primary driver of policy. What is best for our children is that they be in a classroom as much as possible, as long as their parents are comfortable with that. I urge the administration and the board to expand the 2 days in person to full day immediately. We were told that the half-day arrangement would be temporary while staff and students became acclimated to the new routine. This should be done by now. We were told half-days were necessary for lunch considerations. Students are given a meal break now. What are we waiting for? Wednesdays must no longer be full remote. There is no reason why each cohort cannot rotate in-person Wednesdays. Cleaning can be done in the evenings. We need a proactive action now to get our children the education they deserve and allow parents to get back to work. I also ask that the district stop sending emails to everyone in the district whenever a person has a positive test. What purpose does this serve except to cause panic and further the union's agenda to close schools? Emails can be sent by the principal of the affected school to those who are immediately impacted. We should get more details or follow-up to say when a person recovers or was never even symptomatic. Context would help prevent panic and overreaction. Every day, my daughter falls behind her private school peers that are in school 5 days a week. Has anyone from the district asked these schools how they're doing it? They would probably tell you that they leave the politics at the door and put the kids first. I urge you to remember whom you work for and do the right thing for them. I have another comment from Christina Fleury. I'd like to start by sharing a heartfelt thank you to my daughter's teacher. She works endlessly to ensure our children are learning despite the circumstances. We need more teachers like you. My job as a parent is to be a vocal advocate for my child. Therefore, there are several recommendations I would like the board to consider. Other school districts set a date for mandatory opt-in, opt-out for in-person instruction. Our township merely sent a survey. A mandatory opt-in, opt-out policy allows for each school to plan for the upcoming marking period with exact numbers. In my daughter's class, there are 7 students in cohort A that attend Monday, Tuesday, and 4 students in cohort B that attend Thursday and Friday. If we apply basic math in this specific classroom, there could be 3 additional students in the building on Thursday and Friday. Recently, I went into our private school to understand how their students were able to receive 5 full days of in-person instruction, while our public school students are only receiving 2 half days of in-person instruction. In this private school, there were 18 students in a single classroom with the approximate same square footage as a classroom at Signal Hill. The students wore masks through the day and were social distanced while inside. If a student tests positive for COVID, they're quarantined in that single class for 14 days, not the whole school. Private schools are able to do this because each class does not interact with the other. My question to the Board of Education is why did the entire E.T. Hamilton School revert to remote instruction? If you fail to plan properly and don't plan as well as the private schools in the area, you are planning to fail. In the spring when the pandemic first hit, there was an apparent divide between the haves and the have-nots of the internet and technology to engage in remote learning. Now that we are willing to create a divide between public schools and private schools in our area, not providing an equal opportunity of education to these students. It has been brought to my attention that a student with an IEP or 504 plan has the ability for their child to receive 4 days of in-person instruction. While I completely agree that these students should receive the special accommodations they deserve, you have now disadvantaged those students without an IEP or 504 plan, which in my opinion is grounds for legal action. If a student wishes to receive an in-person education, they should not be denied that right if it has been provided to others. The half-day instruction was decided on because of the challenge with students eating lunch at school without a mask on. Therefore, we were told to send our children to school with only a snack and a 1:25 p.m. dismissal. Other parents and I have been sending our children to school with a full lunch because it's too long to go without with only a snack. If lunch is the primary issue, these children have been eating lunch at their desk most days. Therefore, I would strongly motion to move to full-day instruction. It is my understanding specials are still incorporated into the daily instruction. If these students are only receiving 5 half days of instruction, more time should be spent on reading and math. Specials should be eliminated so that the students can focus on core curriculum. In conclusion, I think the Board of Education should stand up on a special committee that works on actual numbers based on mandatory opt-in, opt-outs, so that we can have as many children receive in-person instruction as possible. I would be more than willing to serve on that committee. I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you. Comment from Nicole Nicklaw. My name is Nicole Nicklaw. I address 29 Redstone Bridge, 92 elementary age children that attend Signal High School. I am deeply concerned with the continued shortened school days and urge the superintendent and board to provide transparency regarding what we can expect our children to resume regular school hours, regardless of the model available, such as remote, hybrid, or in-class. We are already fast approaching November, and the shortened day is causing our children to fall further behind where they should be academically. My son is in 4th grade and my daughter is in 3rd grade. Disparity between last year and this year's academic progress is very upsetting. The teachers are doing a fantastic job of working so hard to fit what they can into the 4-hour school day. However, there is not enough time to teach, particularly when non-academic activities are scheduled into the day. Why is the district still on a shortened day plan? What are the benchmarks to return to a full day of instruction? And can we please consider alternative scheduling to minimize interruptions into the school day and place the priority on academic subjects, such as math, reading and language arts, science, and social studies? It is my understanding that elementary teachers are to be working until 3:45 each day. As such, if schools are not required to resume full-day instruction, I urge the board and superintendent to require the time between 1:25 p.m. through 3:15 p.m. to be utilized for non-academic activities or those activities which take away from classroom instruction. I know there are many, many ways this can be accomplished and would like to suggest the potential options and problem-solving suggestions below. Children attend school in person already eat during the school day. I completely understand the hesitation with using the all-purpose room and cafeteria for a full day does not require any change to the current eating plan. Children can continue to eat lunch in their class, and as they are currently doing, to reduce exposure to other people that are not in their classroom. Assembly should not take place during the 4-hour school day at the expense of academic instruction, as they have thus far. Please require that assemblies be scheduled after early dismissal time on all virtual days to ensure participation by students regardless of cohort. Class parties during the shortened school day should be required to be held after early dismissal academic hours. Additional help and enrichment classes such as RTI, Math Sparks, music lessons, and other similar programs should be scheduled at the end of a shortened school day. My daughter often misses various subjects, including the 10 minutes allotted for social studies when she leaves her regular classroom. We then spend hours after school trying to catch up on the schoolwork and complete homework, which is stressful for her and us as parents. Specials on virtual days should be held after the shortened school day or on our all virtual days to allow for additional instruction time. It is very discouraging to hear specialists tell virtual students that they can watch their friends play, watch videos, or have their parents take them to play outside. Many parents are also trying to work if this doesn't seem like a productive way to use a very limited time we are being given in our school day. Again, please urge the superintendent and board to be transparent and communicate the benchmarks required for a return to full-day instruction and when we can expect this to actually take place. If a full day of instruction is not being considered, which is wholly unacceptable, it is at the very least we should keep kept informed of what creative solutions are being considered by the district, such as those previously outlined to maximize limited academic time. Thank you for your consideration. And a comment from Queen Stewart, 16 East Red Oak Drive. Thank you. We feel very confident with the board's decisions thus far. Our family is new to the school district as our child has entered kindergarten just this year. I look forward to working with the board as a member of the HPFA.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, we have board comments. I would like to address, Ms. Augustino, we are reading your emails. We do care. I'm sure that I speak for everybody on this board that we are working with Dr. Gentile, with Dr. Young, trying to find a solution to get our kids into school. We know that we all have to work. Our children need an education. Please know that we do care and we are working towards a solution. As Dr. Gentile said, we all wish COVID would just go away and the health department would limit us less. But with all those restrictions, we are working our best to try and get our kids back into school. Please know that we do hear you. So, any other board comments?
I have a comment. I just want to again reiterate what Mrs. Wallace has said. And I also want to commend our teachers again. They don't get nearly enough recognition. I get to witness every single day two exceptional teachers in Mrs. Ashton and Mrs. Kochi, who teaches my children in particular. I don't know how they do it because I would not be capable. I can barely work and deal with my children on the time during the hours that I need to help them or when they're not in school. And I think we're all, barely holding on as a general matter. I think it's incredibly. I'm sorry. Are you videotaping?
You asked me?
Oh, I thought it was a phone. I got like. It looks like it. It does. From this, I thought you were holding a phone. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I thought she was paparazzi.
So I commend our teachers. I also want to thank Dr. Gentile because I think it's really important for our students and our parents to know what cases are out there, because we've had a lot of people not abide by the quarantine rules. We've had a lot of people go into sporting events despite supposed to be on quarantine. And that is why we're continuing to get rising cases. That's why we're in the state that we're in right now. And it's very frustrating for us who are trying to look for innovative solutions to try and get our kids back into school when we're constantly faced with the environment that we're in and people not abiding by the restrictions and guidelines that we've implemented. So I want to thank Dr. Gentile for constantly keeping the parents informed as soon as we know about a case, because it is important that people are informed so that people can make informed decisions about whether or not to send their kids into school. And I also think it's really helpful that we got a recent communication that discusses how we're making our decisions, why we're making our decisions, and what you can do to kind of help this process along. So again, thank you to our teachers, and thank you to the administration for doing everything that it can to inform parents as quickly as possible in this really, really tough environment.
I just have one more comment to follow up with both of what you said. I think that, yes, as parents who have young children and are working and we are all stressed and trying to manage. I think those that are, not to accuse anybody of not being stressed, but those that are even more stressed are the teachers. They not only are parents as well, but also are in the classroom and still responsible for these children meeting their standards and on such limited time. And also making sure kids are socially distanced, making sure that they're being safe, making sure. And I've heard from so many teachers that they want their kids to come back. They cannot wait until their kids are coming. I talked to my son's Mrs. Leaf, was it today, I think. She said, I just got this wonderful idea to have the kids be able to write all over their desk and I can just go around. And she said, I can't wait to have all my kids back so I can see everybody doing it. So I know that they are dying to have their kids back. This is just it's a horrible situation for everyone. And I know, I feel for everyone. I really feel for the teachers. And I know that they are working harder than they ever have. So we may think that our kids get off of Zoom at 1:25 and we see them down in the kitchen or in our office. They are working later and more than they ever have. So.
And I just echo a sentiment that I had spent the day at Signal Hill, and I really want to give a shout out to Mrs. Cole. She was an excellent teacher. I mean, I don't know how she did. She had 18 kids on Zoom, the kids in the classroom, they were taking a math test. Kids are raising their hand, there's kids calling her on the computer. Like, these teachers are really, really going above and beyond, and I just want to recognize the fact that they're really doing everything they can with what they have right now. And it's not that we are not listening to what you guys are saying, but we have to deal with what's going on, and we're in the middle of a health crisis. And I think everyone needs to understand that we're not a private school, so we're not held to the same guidelines. And I think that's something that people should look into if they don't understand what the difference is between public versus private school. We're held to different standards. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Schmuse?
Sorry, I have one, just a brief comment.
Sorry.
And I'm brand new to the board, and I want to thank everybody on the board for welcoming me into the fold. One of the things that I have noticed in my short time here is that there's a tremendous amount of empathy from all the board members towards the parents, the students, the teachers, towards everybody in the community, and also from Dr. Gentile. And I think that in times like this, where everybody's under a tremendous amount of stress and pressure that's coming at us from all directions, to maintain that sense of empathy and that kindness in all of our processes and everything that we do is of the utmost importance. And I just, I'm very proud to be a part of an organization that in my short time here has displayed that tremendous amount of empathy. And I think that as long as we keep that kindness and empathy in mind as we're making these decisions moving forward, we'll be able to guide our township forward in the right direction.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Schmooze, could you take finance items 1 through 11, please?
I would like to move items 1 through 11 under finance.
Second?
Dr. Fall?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Schmooze?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes. At this time, could I have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Be it resolved that pursuant to Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, the public shall be excluded from that portion of the meeting involving discussion of personnel. Further resolved that the discussion of such matter in executive session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the board takes formal action. Okay. At this time, we're going to make the motion. Can I have a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent for a paid administrative leave for employee number 3171, beginning October 14th, 2020, pending further action of the Board of Education?
So moved.
Second?
Dr. Fall?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
No.
Mr. Schmooze?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
This is just for A.
This is
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, that's, sorry.
You want yes? Sorry, I'll go back.
Sorry.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson, yes, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes. Could I have a motion to approve the recommendation of superintendent to revise the employment of Michelle Santuri to executive secretary to the superintendent for the period from November 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 at a salary of $60,000 prorated?
Yes.
Second?
Second?
Dr. Falk?
Yes.
Ms. Galliano?
Yes.
Dr. Levy?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
No.
Mr. Schmooze?
No.
Mrs. Van Auken?
Yes.
Mrs. Watson?
No.
Mr. Carr?
No.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Motion carries 5 yes.
4 no.
At this time, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.